Jobs, a genius at creating new products, new industries, and new jobs, and he didn't need one penny from the government to do it. Toby, you say D.C. needs to learn from this part of his legacy.
Well, there's no question. Remember, the Silicon Valley really started with Apple and with Intel, et cetera, and this started by having infrastructure for education, having infrastructure for a laissez-faire, let people take risk, allow for capital gains. All these infrastructure issues create this place where innovation can happen. But beyond that, get the hell out of the way. And that was the message that Steve Jobs always had, which was that he thought different, he worked different, but he was in an environment where they could create and he could fail and he could take risk. And that's where prosperity comes from in this world.
You know, it's very interesting because Apple spent less money lobbying than most corporations
by far.
did. Another interesting fact. Gary B., what do you think?
Well, I tell you what, Brenda, you know, I'll just expand on Toby's point a little bit. It's not only that the government gets out of the way, it's that not all, but just most of the great successes of this country, product-wise, service-wise, came from not only business people unfettered by the government, but ruthless business people. You look at Thomas Edison. He was a shrewd business person. You look at the Wright brothers. At the start, they were just business people. Look at Disney. Wanted to create this huge thing to make money. You know, people point to our defense industry as, you know, we have the greatest defense in the world. Why? Because we have ruthless contractors out there that are coming up with these innovative products so they can make millions of dollars. It has nothing to do with government mandates. That's why government needs to back off and let these entrepreneurial spirits rise.
Well, more ruthless capitalism.
Okay, Stefan,
Exactly.
you actually don't agree with this.
I'm sorry, but the idea that Steve Jobs did all this without a dime of government money is a fairy tale.
Oh, come on.
The government enforced his patents. The government subsidized the purchase of many of his computers for schools. He pushed especially hard for that. The government sued Microsoft. Apple benefited. States like Oregon and Washington offer very rich subsidies to semiconductor companies. That benefits Apple. Look, Steve Jobs is terrific, but and I love my iPad as much as anybody else. But
And
yeah,
those,
he went to public school.
Were made,
He benefited
Brenda, because
enormously
those
from the
products
government
work,
involvement.
Stefan. Look, those products work. They were efficient, and that's why the government ended up subsidizing those programs. Look, here was a man who was hungry. Here was a guy who actually grew up poor. He would have to take sodas to soda bottles to take the deposit money to go feed himself. This was a guy that clearly, he had government out of the way, but he had to take that innovation because he was hungry. Edison, the Wright brothers, everybody that Gary B. was talking about, that's because people were hungry. In America, people are not hungry anymore because the government is subsidizing them, Stefan. That's the problem.
Oh, come on, that's absolute nonsense. Getting government contracts from defense, defense contracts, that's the epitome of government involvement. I'm sorry, I'm not telling you government should rule the day.
I got to get to everybody, Stefan. Jonas, he didn't need government, but that doesn't prove that we don't need government.